All right. Okay. Super stoked. Don't have a lot of time. Let's go. And yes, I am still shooting this intro with a drone. Oh, Jesus. Crashed into my son's play sink. Come on, let's go. Whoa. Whoa, you got way too close to me. All right, back up a little bit. Okay. Whoa, are we gonna crash into each other? I'm not loving this mode, but it's kind of like a game for the intro. Am I gonna crash into the drone? Whoa. All right. Watch out for me. You gotta get used to me. This is what we do on the Shred Diary. Drone Yonsei. That's your name, Drone Yonsei. Hey, Drone Yonsei. Come on, why aren't you ahead of me? Catch up. Okay. Woo. I heard you can go 20 miles an hour. Okay. You obviously can't turn 20 miles an hour. Whoa, watch out for that tree, dude. Whoa, watch out for that tree, dude. Whoa. Shit. All right. Well, that was my first crash on the drone. I'm sorry, girl. You okay? A little dirty? I think you'll learn to fly again. And trust me. Okay, Drone Yonsei, next time, don't fly sideways into the tree, okay? Be aware of your surroundings. Okay, you ready? You wanna do some more?
Fly in well-lit, textured environments.
Oh, this is textured.
Close. Direction track. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Watch out, drone. Don't crash into the car. Drone Yonsei is kind of acting up. We might have to do half of this intro just on my camera. Oh, that was cool. Okay. I'm just gonna do the rest of this intro without the drone. But I do want to incorporate a little bit of drone into every episode. Because this is so cool. Okay, Drone Yonsei, I'm sorry. Please don't be mad at me for crashing you like that. I'll be more careful in the next intro. Anyways, today I'm super stoked because I invited Quinn to do a Shred Diary, and she's such a badass. She, within one day, went and filmed and edited a perfect standalone piece, her shredding around the city, and sent it to me, all edited, perfectly cut up, and I feel like I'm not going to edit it anymore. This isn't going to be like my normal Shred Diary. This is going to be part of the team where I promote good ideas and my friends' ideas. And this might be a controversial topic to some, you know. I think there are some of my fans aren't total anarcho-communists, maybe? Maybe you're watching this and you're like, what? You're talking about politics? This is a Onewheel video. And you know what? I'm here to say it can be both things. I think one of the most interesting things about Onewheel people is when they talk about not Onewheel stuff. I feel like, yeah, I could do another Onewheel video of me riding around with a bear's head and whatever, but I like challenging myself. I like doing different things. I like promoting diversity and inclusion, and representation is all really important. And not a lot of Onewheel people are doing that. Sometimes there will be stuff going on in the world that is bigger than Onewheel drama, believe it or not, that is worthy of talking about. And I think even if you don't agree with what Quinn has to say, it's important to listen to her and get her perspective. And that's like what friends do. And that's like what I'm willing to do for you or anybody else. I feel like it's never been cool to like the president. Like, that's never been cool. Activism, always cool. Like, rebelling, revolutions, cool. Bootlicking, not cool. There's some really cool socialism in the United States that people don't even understand is happening. Like the fire department. You know, we could That's a socialist program. There are like a lot of people around the world that were negatively affected by different dictatorships and governments that have tried, different things like capitalism and whatever. We're here now. How good is it working? So yeah, that's what today's Shred Diary is going to be. And I think it's super interesting to see what people want to talk about, what they come to me with. And if you disagree with her, if any of this upsets you, then send me a Shred Diary about it. If you want to send me a Shred Diary about how much you think capitalism is awesome and the right answer, then do it. And I might, write something silly in the subtitles, but I'm still interested in what you have to say. And I think like Onewheel can't unite us. I wish it could be that easy, right? But the way that we're going to change the world and make a difference in people's lives is by talking about our feelings, listening to other people's perspectives, what happened to them, relating it to your own life, having empathy for other people. I think that's a lot of the issues that are going on right now in America, is that people are having a hard time seeing outside of themselves and what affects them. So I am proud and stoked to be sharing this little shred talk with you guys. I'm not going to edit it much. I feel like she says everything very like to the point, and it's cut up really well. And if I did anything to it, it would do a disservice to the message. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a really good rest of their weekend. Thank you. Love you.
Hey, how's it going? It's Quinn. I'm out on a ride on my GT today. Just came back from a paper sale with the Revolutionary Communists of America. It's the Communist Party that I am a member of. And we had, wow, what an electrifying paper sale. Our branch went to one of the subway stations and set up our table, had all of our papers. We had some Marxist magazines, had some booklets from the party, and we had about half a dozen comrades out talking to the working class about the ideas of Marxism, bringing a communist perspective. There's so many people that were interested. The mood within the working class is really starting to shift quite dramatically. The conditions of the working class continue to deteriorate. We're really seeing a global crisis in the capitalist system, which fundamentally is a crisis of overproduction. Even though it feels like it's a crisis of scarcity, that scarcity is artificially created by the private ownership of the means of production. Instead of using all of the vast resources of modern production and technology and everything that we have available to us today, instead of using that to actually be able to take care of people's needs, it's currently only being used to make profit for the ruling class. We have enough resources available to take care of like 12 billion people on Earth right now. That's how much excess that the global capitalist system is generating, and that could easily be used to actually give everybody in the world a comfortable life. But unfortunately, that's impossible when we have to satisfy the profit of the ruling class. And so we have all of this waste, we have all of this destruction, destruction of the environment, all of these things. And the core underlying cause of all of these crises, all of this oppression, is the exploitation of the working class by the ruling class. The entirety of society is created by the working class, but we're not the ones who get to decide how those resources are used. The surplus value is being taken by the bosses, by the CEOs, by the shareholders. And so fundamentally, the working class around the world is subsidizing the lifestyle of these billionaires, these wealthy ruling class elites. So one of the main arguments we hear against communism or socialism is that human nature itself is somehow incompatible with a system of sharing our resources and taking care of each other. All we have to do to disprove that is look at history. If we look back through different societies, we can see that consciousness is not a fixed thing throughout all of history. Human consciousness is a reflection of our material conditions. So ultimately, humans are not greedy by nature. That is fully a product of the environment that we're in. And so when you have a system that enforces artificial scarcity, huge sections of the working class that are completely oppressed and are struggling to survive, if you can't pay rent and you can't feed your family, what are you going to do? Just sit down and die? So under capitalism, everything in society is owned by a small percentage, the ruling class, the capitalists, the bourgeoisie. In order to make profit and continue their businesses, they need to find workers, and they want to find workers at the cheapest price they can. So once capitalism started developing, then in every capitalist country, the ruling class started exploiting all of the working class within their own countries. But at some point, the amount of product they were producing was so much that their own national working class couldn't buy it back, and so they needed to expand beyond their own national borders to find new markets to sell to and new labor markets to exploit. But there were still developing capitalist countries that wanted a slice of the pie. So for example, the driving forces behind World War I were that Germany was a developing capitalist country that wanted new markets to exploit, but all of the other pieces of the world were already claimed by the other imperialist countries. And so in order to go out and expand, they would have to take it away from one of the other imperialist countries. And so this is the driving force behind imperialist wars. And it's why imperialist wars are inevitable under capitalism. So every major global conflict since World War I has been an imperialist war. And this is also the driving force behind the conflicts that we see today in Ukraine, in Gaza, and the wider Middle East. The imperialist nations want to secure their interests in the area, and so they can continue to exploit and continue to exert their domination over the world. Lenin talks about this in his book Imperialism. There was this transition away from military domination into financial domination. So imperialist countries will go and overthrow the government of a developing country and install a dictator, and then companies from these imperialist countries will go in and set up mines and factories to extract the natural resources. And so you have these incredibly high-tech centers of production and extraction. All of the workers are living in horrific conditions. Pretty much every single developing nation is in a huge amount of debt to one of the imperialist nations. And this means that even though they are incredibly rich in natural resources, they can't actually use any of those natural resources to take care of their own citizens. The majority of their resources have to be sent to one of the imperialist nations to pay back these loans. So as of 2024, the global public debt was at $100 trillion. So that's divided by the population of 8-point-something billion people. That's about $12,000 per person, which is about the same amount as the global GDP per capita. So to repay this debt, every single person in the world would have to work for an entire year without spending anything. So this is one of the biggest crises that the ruling class around the world is facing. All of this debt that is accumulated, which is now coming due, and the ruling class doesn't want to pay for that. And so you have this huge crisis within the bourgeoisie of all these different countries. So they're just tossing the stick back and forth to figure out who is going to be the bad guy that shows up and tells the working class through their policies, well, you all have to pay for this. So we can see this displayed clearly in the US. The Democrats were running on this platform of, oh, everything's fine, the economy is great. We can clearly see that the economy is absolutely not fine for the working class. Regular working people are under huge amounts of debt and stress, not being able to find good jobs, having to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, multiple jobs just to pay their rent, just to take care of their family, just to buy food, not able to go to the doctor when they need to, suffering under private health insurance that is making money for the ruling class off of our pain and suffering. But the Democrats have more and more become the party of big business. And so the policies that they implement are never going to make the corporations pay for all of this debt. They're going to pin that on the working class and make us pay for it. So Trump has come along and wielded this working class rhetoric, talking to people, to the working class directly, saying, yeah, life sucks, it's getting worse, there's a real crisis, and I'm going to come along and fix it. So you had a majority of the working class in the US that voted for him, not because they liked his xenophobic, racist, homophobic, sexist policies, but because he was speaking to their issues. But here's the thing, Trump has no way to actually fix any of these issues. This is a fundamental crisis of the system, of capitalism itself. The contradictions are inherent. There is absolutely no way that Trump can follow through on anything that he's promised. He's talking about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S., but how does he propose to do that? He said, we're going to put tariffs on foreign import and export. And he said, this will make sure that U.S. companies will bring their labor back into the U.S. and create all these manufacturing jobs. But how are they going to do that? These companies would lose all of their profit if they had to pay living wages in the U.S. because of the cost of living here. Instead of bringing back the golden age of America like he's claiming, conditions are continue to get worse, and there's going to be a huge disappointment in the layer of Trump voters. And this is why, as a Marxist, I'm not freaking out about Trump coming into office, because we can see this coming from a mile away. This is the inherent crisis of capitalism, and all of these forces were at play way before Trump got into office, even the first time. After World War II, there was a huge post-war boom that gave the false impression that capitalism was actually going to be able to address these things and take care of the workers. But that was only because of the huge destruction in Europe after World War I and World War II, and the US had built up all these manufacturing forces and not had any of their manufacturing forces destroyed by the war. And so they then became the global superpower and took it upon themselves to become the policeman of the world. They were able to give concessions to the majority white section of the working class, and this is where the story of the American dream was born. They had the threat of communism looming over them from the USSR, and people were coming back from war after just being fighting in these horrible conditions, realizing that, oh, maybe this capitalist mode of production, maybe the fact that these rich ruling class people have all this power, maybe that's not the best way to do things. And so the ruling class in the US needed to figure out some way to hold on to their power, and so there wouldn't be a workers' revolution. But that unpredicted upswing in capitalism was not the norm. That was an abnormality. So ever since then, we've been in a huge decline. There was the oil crisis in the 70s, economic downturn, 9/11, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID, and now there's the Ukraine War and the genocide in Gaza. And people are starting to finally wake up and realize that this system is not all that it was made out to be. All the things that we were told by the ruling class in school, in media, it's all a lie. You can't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So as Marxists, we can see that revolution is inevitable. The living conditions of the working class will continue to decline, and at some point people will take matters into their own hands and say, I'm sick of this. I want to be able to have a say in how the society is run, the society that my labor is exploited to build. Revolutionary upturn is inevitable, but that doesn't mean that it will bring a successful transformation into a socialist society. Looking through history, we can see that every single time there's a revolution, and there's not a revolutionary working class party to capture all of that class anger and implement a workers' government to take that power after the old regime has been kicked out. It just falls back into the hands of another capitalist regime. The question becomes, what can we do to make sure that this revolution is a success? To implement a planned economy under democratic workers' control so that we can decide how to produce things and where our resources go by the needs of the people, not by the needs of the profit for the ruling class. And Marxism is scientific socialism. It's using the scientific method that we apply to all of these other sciences to also apply to society. And as Marxists, we say that the single greatest event in all of human history so far has been the October Revolution, led by the Bolsheviks and Lenin. Using the methods of Marxism, the working class overthrew the capitalists and took power and implemented a workers' government. So by looking back at history, we have a wealth of knowledge that has been documented and turned into the study of Marxism. And it's our duty to learn the lessons and put them into practice so that we can successfully transform society and fundamentally put an end to all of this oppression and destruction that we see in the world today. So if you want to live in a society that prioritizes the needs of the people and the planet over the profits of the ruling class, then come help us build a revolutionary workers' party that can overthrow capitalism within our lifetimes. I think it's high time that the majority of society gets to have a say in how our society is run. So this is a really interesting invitation. I'm really excited that I got to participate in this and talk about something that I'm incredibly passionate about and interested in. And hopefully this is able to bring some new perspectives because, as most of the media, most of the news that you are able to consume today is fully under the influence of the ruling class and their interests. And so being able to cut through all of that propaganda and actually see the world through our own class interests has been an incredible experience for me since joining the party. And for the first time in my life, I'm truly hopeful for the future. The last 10,000 years of class society is about to come to the end. And the next era, the next epoch of human development is going to bring so many beautiful, amazing things that we can't even conceive today. Like, once we're able to have a society that's free, that people are actually able to have their needs met, we will just see like a blooming of creativity and science and communication and language and relationships. And the future is so bright. All we have to do is get over this last hump. It won't be an easy process, but I think that understanding the world through Marxist philosophy is the first step in being able to achieve that goal. So, I think that's it. If y'all ever want to talk about Marxism, my DMs are always open. Have a great one.